Welcome to the best hour of their day podcast with your hosts, Jason Fernandez
and me, Jason Ackerman. With more than 20 years in the business,
as both coaches and affiliate owners,
our passion is to help create world-class affiliates
and coaches by building
better boxes. Welcome to
the best hour of your day.
I'm here with Nick Pappas. That's the full name?
Pappas.
How to say that again?
Papa
Zaha
Ropoulos.
Papa Zaharopoulos.
Yep.
Is that the...
You know what's funny is actually, I can't believe we're starting with this.
This is what we're starting with.
My last name is Pappas,
Yep.
but it's a shortened name. And if you meet anybody with last name Pappas, it's probably a shortened name. And I've always known that my last name I thought it was Papa Zaharopoulos.
Okay.
And then at regionals in 2015, we went to a place called Nick the Greek. It was a food spot.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, I know Nick the Greek.
Yeah.
There's one here in Santa Cruz.
Yeah, so I went in and I showed him my ID because I got an alcoholic beverage right before regionals. Maybe I shouldn't say that on the podcast.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, that happens. And he was like, "Oh, what's your last name?" And I told him, and he was like, "No, it's not. This is how you say it."
Oh, no way.
And I was like, "Oh, good to know." So Pappas Zaharopoulos.
That's awesome. You got to learn something from the wait staff at Nick the Greek about your life. Anyway, I'm here with Nick, and Nick and I, we've known each other. I mean, we used to compete together years ago, hence the going to regionals, and he reminded me about that. Nick is from the Northern California region, and we found ourselves going head-to-head in competition, but Nick's been on staff. Well, actually, why don't you tell me how you got into CrossFit, and then tell me kind of your shortened journey of how you got here. So you're who you are. How'd you get into CrossFit? What age were you? That whole process.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to find CrossFit 2 times. And the first time when I was a teenager, I was actually doing something called SST, Specific Sport Training. And I don't know if you remember that back in the day, but they made these gyms and they had all this equipment that you would bring in, and then you would do workouts like Fran and Angie and Diane. And it was just totally a knockoff of it. But we were doing it in high school to get ready for sports.
Right.
So my friend was like, "Hey, I'm doing this thing." I went and did it with him. And then I found it again when I was 19. Do you remember Spencer Scott? You remember that name for the leaderboard?
No. Spencer Scott. No.
Okay, well, best friend in high school.
Okay.
I come back after a semester in college and he hands me this stack of papers and is like, "Read this. It's a level 1 training guide."
Oh, nice. I didn't know it was straight into the level 1 training guide.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I read that when I was 18 years old. And I read the entire thing in one night. And I woke up in the morning and I turned my toes slightly out and I sat back in my squat. And I also added some eggs to my pancake breakfast.
That's
and
funny.
It's been CrossFit ever since.
Oh, that's funny.
And through college, I realized that I wanted to do something obviously fitness-based, so I got a degree in kinesiology from Sonoma State University.
Okay.
And then was fortunate enough to get an opportunity to join the CrossFit Kids Seminar Staff in 2014. So I've worked for CrossFit Kids since 2014 and then jumped on the level 1 staff. Again, fortunate enough to get an opportunity in 2018.
Okay. And then wait, didn't you have your own gym?
Yeah.
When was that? What was that period of time?
So in 2012, we started a gym in my garage. Mm-hmm. I'll be more specific. I was 20 years old. We started a gym in my parents' garage while I was living in my parents' garage going to college. And that was just a really fun way to get started of having people come in and trying to teach them how to squat and trying to get them on board on what we're doing. And then we also went to local elementary schools and did after-school programs.
So you went straight into the kids stuff?
Yeah.
What was the inclination there? What drew you to that as the first thing? Or was it more just I see a need and I'm going to,
I think it was, no, it wasn't a need. I didn't see a need. I wasn't that smart, that's for sure. But I'm so grateful for all the teachers and coaches that I had growing up, that it was something that I just felt was necessary and the right thing to do to serve by teaching kids. So this amazing thing of CrossFit, right? It's a gift that we all have been given. That's what we need to give to the next generation.
You felt that at 20?
Yeah.
You were like, I'm going to go do this.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It was an aha moment. When I took the kids course, like it was, when I found CrossFit, taking the level 1, doing the whole thing, it was like, whoa, I know what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. In terms of like, I know what I'm going to do in terms of exercise.
Yeah.
But when I took the kids course and it was like, oh, this is how we keep it going. And it was like, oh, now I know what I'm going to do for work for the rest of my life.
Oh, interesting. So you were drawn to teaching kids right away?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's super different than me. Like I took the kids course and filmed the original Brand X courses and like was doing all those and was like, this is cool for other people. Like,
yeah, it was cool for other people.
Yeah,
it was amazing,
you know, like, that's really interesting. So you've known you kind of wanted to head the route of teaching kids for a very long time.
Yes.
And so you, at the very first gym that you opened, you started up kids classes and pursuing it at elementary schools.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it went to a facility and we ran kids classes there. Again, worked at some elementary schools, and it's always just been a part of it. And it's very natural for me to see in a gym setting kids around.
Right.
Like it just makes sense.
Right.
And was fortunate enough that we always were able to do it in spaces that were safe enough that, like, you know, you can have kids running around. You don't have to worry about barbells getting dropped on them or anything like that.
There is this fly that is buzzing around your face that is killing me right now. This little turd fly is flying everywhere. Anyway, if you see us do this in the middle, or if you're just listening, then and you hear like it's us trying to get a fly. If you see it,
this is a great like kind of analogy on working with kids.
You just ignore the fly.
If you can handle a fly buzzing around your face, and you can handle patiently waiting for 10 kids
to
pay attention.
So you've known you want to teach kids from day one. You kind of had that going on from the beginning. You've done the kids course. You've now teach the kids course. You now run the kids course, right?
I'm the manager for the online CrossFit Kids course. So I just try to make it so that the team is taken care of and we get gigs up and then we crush them and make people really excited to coach kids.
That's awesome. Is there anything that you like? Because it sounds like in our conversations, you and I have filmed a few videos for the knowledge and going in there. It sounds like one of the main things that is required for being a kids coach is a strong desire to work with kids. Yeah. Is that fair to say?
Mm-hmm.
And do you think that that's something that can be learned, or do you think it's something that kind of has to be inherent?
Yes. I think it can be learned, but I think that it needs to be something that it's learned over time and through repetition of seeing the beauty of it. So for someone who's like, I never want to coach kids, if you are interested in getting someone their first pull-up and you get excited when an adult gets their first pull-up, then you have all the same passion and, you know, all the building blocks to want to coach kids as well. It just is going to look a little bit different. And for people who are, you know, inherently like, oh, I see it, that might just be something with their upbringing that they, you know, had little, you know, younger siblings or anything like that, or just, you know, worked with younger ages, whether they were in sports and helped out the younger teams. But for those people, it's still something that they need to keep getting that repetition on, otherwise it will go away.
Right. I think if I'm being honest with myself, I didn't see much of a desire to coach adults when I first started either. It was more of like something that I had to learn the value in.
1,000 people later in terms of coaching them, and then you're like, whoa, this is awesome.
Well, this is actually valuable, yeah. I think I started pretty young, as you did too, but I was a lot more self-absorbed than I imagine you are. You seem like a much more, like, let me take care of the people around me sort of deal.
Every teenager, man.
Teenager, I'm talking about till mid-20s, late 20s.
That's still a teenager in many regards.
a teenager, a 20-ager. Yeah, fair. But yeah, I guess as I think about my personal travel through adult coaching, it was like I coached because it was the thing that I could do in the moment. I was around CrossFit so much, I was training, I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And then even in the beginning, I was like, yeah, this is fine. Okay. It's kind of fun.
So if you don't want to coach kids, that's totally fine. But I'm going to ask you a couple questions and hopefully spark something.
Well, yeah. I mean, even the way you're phrasing it in our conversations, it's kind of spurred me to be like, I was thinking about it wrong. I was thinking about the whole thing wrong. I was struggling with the ability to do what I do with adults, with kids. And then in your framing of things, it's not the same. Like, and if I wrap my head around that, then I feel like it'd be a much better path. And what I'm saying, if for those of you listening, is like the way he has phrased or framed training kids for me, and you can correct me at any time here, has been, it's fun first. The goal is to just have fun, to play games, to have fun that include activity. And then through those games, we teach very limited amounts of stuff. And you get creative in the like how you're going to have them, keep an upright torso by holding a ball over their head, and then you're like, oh, who can hold the ball over the head? And it's like, but that's like the main point of performance. You go through an entire day, and the rest of the time it's just, can we play? So the creativity comes in how many games we can do, not how many points of performance I can teach during a session.
Yeah.
Which is very different than I coach adults. Like adults, I'm like, I'm going to make them have fun, but it's going to be fun via the other route.
Yeah, and that would be the start. So when you're starting with coaching kids, do less better.
Right.
Straight from Todd Whitman.
Right.
Do less better.
Right.
And do less better by just focusing on helping them get a little bit better at one thing during a game. And then as you get better, then maybe it's that you're teaching throughout an entire day. You do teach all 5 points of performance of the air squat.
Right.
But
because you're good enough to.
That's going to take a little bit of time to get used to. But I do want to just to check in on
check in on
if you would like to coach kids, because maybe it's still a possibility.
Yeah.
Are you grateful that you found CrossFit as a kid?
1,000%, of course. Yeah.
So it's a worthy endeavor, and I'm not saying that as like.
Oh, it is.
I'm not saying that it's like like judgment on you that you don't think it is. I know that you know that it is.
Yes.
But that right there just kind of sets the foundation of like, okay, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Like it is worth it. And then 2 is, what do you as a parent enjoy teaching your kids?
Oh, I mean, you picked an interesting phrasing and person to ask that question to, because I don't enjoy teaching my kids. Because every time I've tried to teach them things, it doesn't work. Like I'm always like, try this, learn this. They're like, they just don't listen to me. And it's minimally effective. So I've kind of resorted to just being a certain way if I want them to learn something, right?
Okay.
So like...
Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate you being vulnerable. But you just kind of like segued into what I was kind of going to go for in the rundown of this is, rather than making it to where it's like you have to sit down and learn this, that's what teaching is.
Right.
It's the paradigm shift of, if they just do what you do, if they just go surfing with you, if they just hang out in the gym with you, you're teaching them how to do CrossFit. So You're running CrossFit kids classes.
Fair.
By just hanging on the pull-up bar and then giving them the opportunity to hang on the pull-up bar.
Fair.
By squatting and being like, here you go, bud. And you send them over the 8-pound D-ball.
Yeah. Okay, fair. And what I find interesting about that is like with my kids, I can do that because they're my kids. Mm-hmm. But you, in the class that we watched, you created a really good environment for them to want to do that. Like they just kind of follow you through things. There wasn't a ton of teaching. It was a lot. I mean, it was there.
Yeah.
But it was like in a very different.
I'm curious how many squats I did.
I mean, we could count them. We have the footage. So,
I maybe did 2.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, instead of it being that they're gonna listen and watch what I do, and I need to be able to.
No, you did 2.
Like group manage and demonstrate and do all that stuff. Like it's slightly different. I'm going to teach by making it so that they're doing Zelda squats.
Yeah.
So it's my internal knowledge of, I know that they need to maintain a neutral spine, but then I'm communicating it to them as they're putting a Zelda mask on and going down and up. And then I'm demonstrating by saying, Oaks, get on out. Check this out.
Yeah.
And I'm using their peers to get motivated.
Yeah.
And it makes it to where teaching-wise, they're not listening to me. I'm just kind of like, I'm like the narrator, I guess, in the background of like,
right.
And Oaks is coming out.
Yeah.
It's like,
and
look at
Oak
Oak's
shows you-
squatting,
yeah.
and like, oh my gosh, Oak's knee is going out.
Yeah, so some things like when I was watching that class that you taught, some things that kind of jumped out to me were like, I actually almost feel like, maybe this will sound wrong and you can help me rephrase this, but I've met a lot of adult coaches who I wouldn't consider that great at coaching adults, who I think would be fantastic at coaching kids because of the way they engage. There's a lot of adult coaches who don't take the next step to actually enact change on the movement when it's required. Mm-hmm. Someone's paying you monthly to do so.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a big failing in our space of like the seeing and correcting. But it almost feels like with kids, there's less of that required, just due to the nature of like the bigger thing is the fun. You still do it, but you do it through very different means, and you do it, especially when you're first learning, at the like one thing per class level. And I saw it and I was like, oh, I'd almost think it'd be a great place for people to develop to some degree if they had the personality and the management side of it first. Because the kids are just far less fragile, you know, like in general.
So
talk to me about that.
Yes. And I just want to, like, just to clarify, in case it's not seen in the video, or like, inside of the class, I did not be a relentless CrossFit trainer.
Right.
Because X, Y, and Z of everything that we do with kids is we're going to make it so that we can praise their effort on one point of performance that I taught, so that the communication is clear as day. I want you to keep your chest up while you're squatting right now. Great job working hard at keeping your chest up, instead of 75 things and they have no clue what's going on. And,
but that's how you want to coach adults too.
And yes. So, but one thing at a time, right? But for kids, where I hope they would go if they're starting out there and they have fun with that is you still need to be able to see all the faults.
Yeah.
And then you still need to use that information to inform how you're going to coach the next class.
Right.
Like if we did another class tomorrow and we did some squats again, we'd make it new and fun and exciting and do a different type of squat. I'm not saying an overhead squat. I'm saying like instead of Zelda squats, we'd do Lego squats or something.
Right.
And what I saw as the most common fault was the knee initiated squat and being on their toes.
Right.
So now we're doing Lego squats where we need to become Legos and have the Lego feet, and we latch our heels down on Legos. Oh. And now we need to pull our Lego hips backwards and then down, and our Legos can't come up because we're stuck to Legos.
Oh, that's good.
So
see, I thought Lego squats like you'd put Legos under the front side of their feet.
You could do that. I was thinking about that actually too. I was just
and that way they would have to stay in their heels.
I don't think they were trying to associate pain with their memory of squats. I know that for you don't even need to put a Lego. You can just imagine that, right?
Yeah,
it's just
take
like,
it. Ooh,
okay,
Lego squats.
Lego underneath your toes.
Yeah, and
don't do that.
Don't do that. Okay.
But I guess, like, again, to clarify, is a CrossFit Kids trainer that is looking to create effective change
long term.
That's and you know, to go to like what we say in the CrossFit Kids course, to shape their squat, to shape their lives, is making it to where we focus on one thing at a time, and we use all the knowledge that we know as CrossFit trainers, just in a more patient manner. Yeah. Because 10 years, 20 years, right? Like until they're autonomous individuals.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. I mean, it's interesting. It's almost like a reworking back for me as I think about it, like how you phrase all that, and you've got to be even more patient.
Yeah. Well, let's put it in the middle ground then, because the transition is teenagers. Right. This context, we're talking about kids, ages 5 to 12, 13 for one of them. Yeah. 4 to 13. Yeah. Right. That's the class that we just ran. But for teenagers, that's where we have the middle ground. That's where we get to teach them how to be coachable and be proactively excited about having a CrossFit trainer that's relentless. Right. And there's some nuance there. You know, we've chatted about this, but if we make it so that we have such a good relationship with them, and then we make it so that they trust us when we give them a cue, then they're going to want that just like adults do, even more so than adults do. in a healthy manner. So if you have a teenager who is still working on the points of performance of a squat and a front squat, if you make it so that it's like, hey, when you get your elbows up into this position, you get to add 5 more pounds. So I want you to relax your hands, get your elbows up, and work really hard at keeping that while you do a squat. Ready, and down, up.
Right.
Cool, go add 5 pounds.
Right.
High five. And that is fun. That is like a success story.
Right.
And then you do that for the rest of that class until you have the appropriate weight.
Yeah.
Then you do that for the rest of that month. Then you do that for the rest of the year. And you do that with all the movements. And it makes it so that it's literally just a consistent behavioral, I'm going to say the word conditioning because that is the terminology, but like that sometimes sounds negative, but like we're behaviorally conditioning them to realize that when you work hard at what we ask you to do, then the reward is your feeling of success.
Right. And I think this is a much healthier set of conditioning than often, because like conditioning is going to happen by the environments that we're in regardless. So this is phrasing around like personal achievement of like working hard and having things pay off versus like many other situations that could be perceived. You're just doing it so dad'll clap, like whatever it is.
Yeah.
It seems like a really positive conditioning.
And because I'm so grateful that I've gotten the chance to work with kids that become teenagers and teenagers that become young adults. Like the same goes for whatever we want to teach them. So if I want to teach them how to take ownership, if I want to teach them how to be leaders, we do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
We set it up in a very simplistic, here's what you're going to do first.
Right.
Here's how you're going to do it. High five, good job. And then they can learn how to understand how to work up in weights on a heavy day.
Right.
They can learn how to take ownership and leadership with the group and direct other kids that they're working with so that, as teenagers go, some teenagers are paying attention, another one is aloof like this. And it's like, hey, Pat, I need you to go over there. You need to get a set of 2.5s on for Lance. You know what I mean? It's like that stuff that then you highlight that in front of the entire class, and the class is like, oh, shoot. Coach thinks that that's important to take care of other people. I guess I should be taking care of other people as well.
What's interesting is you probably do this intentionally, and maybe you have some tips on it. I in other conversations have talked a lot about the difference between personal authority and positional authority, right? And as a coach, you always have a positional authority. People have paid or they're there to listen to you because that's your position. But it sounds like and what I've watched you do many times is you develop a really good sense of personal authority being like the kids want to listen to you. They want to engage with you. They want to respect you just based off of how you treat them. And so that seems like a really big key to teaching kids is to be like, hey, let's first and foremost, when you taught the little gremlins out there, like you started building that relationship the day before. It was like any opportunity you got to like go out, and that I think it helps because you're naturally drawn to kids and you like hanging out with kids. Like building Legos with them is fun for you, so like you'll go do that.
Yeah, I went out because it was like Rose wanted to build Legos. Yeah, and it was like, all right, Rose, let's go build Legos.
Rose is his daughter,
and then it was like, oh, I'm in here building Legos.
Right.
It's like, oh yeah, I forgot that.
The adults are talking in the other room. You're in the other room.
I really thought about that for a second. I was like, where am I?
But what's great is that like it lends a sense of. I think it lends legitimacy to your actions when you speak to them about stuff, and I think that's. It's like a two-way respect thing of like you clearly will connect with them on not just their level, but like you want to engage with them. You want to hear what they have to say. Like where are you at in the Zelda game? Like that is important to you. And I don't know. I think that's a bigger lesson too, with adults and kids. Is like
there it is again.
That's the fly. You couldn't ignore it that time.
It came out my face. When we are, I believe, when we are respectful of children, that builds their confidence. So I do care about their Zelda game, but I will be completely honest to everyone watching so that they hopefully feel empowered to go do the same thing. I care more about the fact that they feel respected and seen than I do about where they're at in the Zelda game.
I feel that.
And I care more about the fact that they are respected and seen for them having fun being outside and doing activities instead of playing Zelda, right? Like the fact that, I mean, they've done so many activities outside. Like I want them to get high fives for that. Like I care more about that than I do about my own personal, like wanting to go play Legos.
Totally.
And inside of a CrossFit Kids class, I think that that's something that we can just take ownership of because it's our job as leaders, as the trainers, to make it so that we put effort into making them feel respected, making them feel safe in this environment.
Right.
And when you give that, then yes, you might get it back, but I have no expectations that they're going to give that back because they're kids.
Totally.
Like
totally. Yeah.
That's the line. That's one line that I have. Like if you're a kid, you're going to act like a kid. If you're an adult, we're going to act like an adult. And
you should.
As we're slowly guiding them towards adulthood, hopefully they, pass it on to the kids that are younger than them and they respect them too.
Right. I think respect and kindness is a pretty universally good thing to be doing.
Those are our school values.
Are they?
Be safe, be kind, be respectful.
I like it.
Be the best you can be.
I like it. So you've done this now for a while, the teaching of kids and the teaching of adults, and you teach level ones just fantastically, and I've appreciated. I've worked with you a few times, and I've always loved working with you. What is for you one of the biggest learning experiences you've had, like when it comes to being effective at this? Like what is something that was like,
oh yeah,
maybe you were doing or just...
Yeah, totally. When I first started coaching kids, I was trying to coach kids. And the way that I structure that is like, I'm trying to coach kids. And what I was doing to try was I was trying to emulate other trainers, and I was trying to do what the workout was written as. Mm-hmm. So I was more focused on making it CrossFit than I was on making it fun.
Right.
And one day, the kids asked if we could just play games all day. And I was like, you know what? It's been a long day. Okay, we're playing games all day.
Right.
I could use a break.
Right.
I probably coached 7 classes that day before the kids all came, and it was like kids classes 3 hours in a row. And I was just like, okay. And it was the most fun ever.
Right.
And they actually created some games. Like it wasn't like, okay, I'm telling you what to do. It was like, okay, we're going to play this. And then they like switched it up a little bit, and then they started making it so it was even more fun than the games that I was playing.
And you're like,
And that was when I switched it up and I made it more focused on fun, which is through games or through activities or through challenges or through whatever it is that they find fun. And that was when I really started also deeply falling in love with this, that I like, it solidified like, oh, I really want to do this for the rest of my life. And when other trainers came in and watched my class, I remember one time my friend, he watched it, and afterwards he walked up and he looked like he had just seen a ghost, and he was like, that doesn't look anything like my class. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, my classes are not fun.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm noticing with when I've watched your stuff. It was like, that was what the big difference was. It was like the priority is just such a different place. And it's like, yeah, I think I did the exact same thing you did, but I never had the epiphany because I didn't do it for long enough. I didn't get stuck in my 3-hour kids thing where the kids were like, let's make it fun.
Yeah.
It was just like, let's try to do CrossFit and make it fit for kids. Keep doing box jumps, kids. Yeah,
there's 10 more seconds. Why aren't you doing another box jump? You could have gotten 3 more.
Oh, you suck.
I'm sure.
Go home and cry to your mom.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's definitely a weird switch. Let's say that you just got done teaching a 3:30 adult class, and then it's 4:30 kids class, and it's
all right, freeze tag
switch.
You know what's funny is like I loved playing games with adults. And I think one of the things that, I mean, we had 400 person gyms and I'd get 30 adults in classes, like throwing down in freeze tag, you know, or dodgeball. Man, we would play dodgeball. It'd be like, hey, we're gonna do 10 minutes of CrossFit dodgeball. And you know, if you're a strong thrower, you have to play with your opposite hand. If you get hit with the red ball, it's burpees. If you get hit with this ball, it's this. And we didn't have adults be playing, like adults who've never played dodgeball in their entire lives, just in love with the game. And I think it was because we were having fun. And we would play so hard that sometimes it'd be like, yeah, 10 minutes turns into a 45-minute dodgeball session. And we all are sweaty and beat at the end. And we just do a quick workout and go home. Yeah. You know, like, and it was the cultures that created, like if you can get adults to play, like, I think that's a good call.
Yeah. It kind of, I'm not sure if you've ever heard this, but a lot of people, after they take the kids course, they're like, that was the best course. Because they put two and two together where they were like, oh, this isn't just about kids.
Right.
Because it's, when I say I'm trying to make it fun, I'm not just making it fun for fun's sake.
Right.
How do we get results in CrossFit?
Intensity.
How do you make it more intense for kids? Make it more fun.
Right, because they'll go hard.
Hey, go run hard.
Yeah.
This is so hard. And then it's like, all right, I got this Rubik's Cube. I want to see if you can get back to that box and back before I solve this. Yeah. Ready, go. Boom.
Right.
They're sprinting as fast as they can. All right, now it's you two. You're going to try to do 5 burpees before they run down and back. You're going to try to run down and back before they do 5 burpees. Let's see who can win. 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah. And it's getting what we want, which is intensity, so that we know that they get the results from it.
Right.
And what they want is to play a game with their friends.
Right.
So yeah, this isn't just some like this is a cool part, because I am all about fun, obviously.
Right.
But I have fallen in love with this CrossFit thing because of how difficult it is, how challenging it is.
So that's what we're doing. We're making difficulty fun.
Yeah. Like when I grew up wrestling, it was all about making it so that I could outwork the person that I was going to go against and know, hands down, when I stepped on the mat, that I put in more work before that match. And that made it so that when I did find CrossFit as a teenager, it was like, oh, this is kind of the same thing, but we have a little bit more why behind it. It's not just a means to an end for winning a wrestling match. It's like, oh, this is how we get results. This is how we do everything in life.
Yeah, I guess if you unpack adult CrossFit, it's the same thing. And even just the workouts. That's what CrossFit did for a lot of the fitness community. It was like, it made hard workouts somewhat fun. Yeah. Where it was like, oh, I get to do this, and then this, and then this, and this, and like.
Because it made it measurable.
It made it measurable. It was like, all of a sudden.
It was a definite success.
Right. You're like.
Congratulations, your hard work made it so that you got a 30-second personal best on frame.
Totally. Which is, as adults, we can find achievable and fun, and you feel that. Whereas kids, it's literal games that make it go that hard, which you could probably bring back to adults all the time too. I love it.
Is CrossFit gamified fitness?
CrossFit, of course, is gamified fitness. That's exactly what it is. That's what it was. Like, that's the only reason I never worked out until I found CrossFit. I never did normal training because I was like, this is lame. I'd rather be playing the game. I'd rather be playing volleyball. Or I'd rather be surfing, or I'd rather be. But then when CrossFit came around, I was like, yeah, that stuff looks really fun. Like, I would love to beat you or beat myself. Like, because I was competitive. Like, I thought I liked winning for a long time. I don't like winning. I like competing. I like the act of like the like clashing of heads and like that pushing myself. And CrossFit was that avenue for me, and that's what got me into it initially. So I think that's what CrossFit did for the space. Like, nobody was. I mean, even back when Greg started in 2001, it wasn't like people didn't know that intensity worked. We knew it worked. It was just really hard to get people to do it. Yeah, it's like no one was gonna go there by themselves. Yeah, they needed someone to be like, here's why, and like here's an environment that it makes sense.
Totally, and I mean, we're trying to provide that motivation. And then an explanation of why, so that hopefully there can be the discipline that they make the choice themselves to do it instead of needing an external motivator to make that happen. But, I think it's important just to bring up for any, because now we're getting a little intense subjectively. we need to make sure that we meet our kids where they're at.
Totally.
And
but that's adults too.
If a little kid, you know what I mean, is just there to have fun with their friends, and it's like, okay, today, tomorrow, the next 2 years, it's not about going hard or competing against your friends,
right?
Then we don't need to introduce all these numbers.
Totally.
We can make it to where it's just, hey, we're having fun. The 5 points.
But they go. Like, you watch them. Like, you watch my 4-year-old today.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, and especially for the one athlete who was like, I don't want to work out.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, we're starting with a game. Here we go.
Yeah.
And then I made sure to make it to where it was hopefully a fun class.
So what Nick's referencing is we taught a class out there. He taught a class out there. I filmed it, which again you can see inside the knowledge. But one of the girls was like, we were asked her if she wanted to work out. She's like, I don't want to work out really. And then so she joined in, and he.
Yeah. And then at the end of the day, because she did the game, did the warm up, did the workout, did the game, and I thought it was a fair point to highlight in front of everyone of like, hey, I'm really proud of you for working hard and having fun.
Yeah.
High five. Go play on the trampoline.
Yeah. And I think you did such a good job, and like if you get a chance to watch that, it's like how much you praised their effort. Like how often you highlighted, hey, you worked really hard on that thing. That was so great on the knees driving out. Like it was so much, you were constantly scanning for that.
Yeah.
It was like you were looking for points of performance, for sure. Mm-hmm. As a coach, like you can't not look for points of performance.
And yeah, praise needs to be that. Because if praise is just general, then it's cheerleading.
Right.
Right. And just like in adults class, like I would not recommend cheerleading in a kids class. Good job, everybody.
Yeah.
What they're doing in that moment, their perception in that moment, what you're praising, could be reinforcing something that's not working hard. So
finger buried in the nose. Great job, everyone. I pick my nose more.
But specifically, name, effort, action. Pat, I see how hard you're working to push your knees out of the bottom of your squat. Good job.
Right. Right. Yeah. That's good. That's good. So if people want to, get started in all this, we've got a thing talking about it, but where would you recommend they get started?
Google the CrossFit Kids Startup Curriculum.
Okay.
And then it's a free document. It'll give you 8 weeks of lesson plans. It'll give you 24 free games for each age, for the kids and preschool age groups, so 3 to 5 and then 5 to 12. Mm-hmm. And it'll also give you knowledge assessments for teenagers.
Nice.
And that is a place to start as like here's an easy one. Go to your computer, punch some buttons, and then get that document. But the only way that you actually get started is by coaching kids.
Right.
And take the breath and go make it fun instead of the best CrossFit class ever.
Yeah.
And build it from there.
Yeah. Love it. Is there anything else you want to tell people about coaching kids for right now?
Yeah, I think a lot of times if we just don't know how it's like that it's possible, then there's no way that we can start. So I just want to share how many people are coaching kids. Like obviously there are thousands of affiliates that have kids inside their programs, mm-hmm. but we also have over 400 affiliates in schools right now.
Oh yeah.
The CrossFit Foundation just gave out 34 $10,000 grants to schools to get equipment to start up programs. We got teachers that are making this so that you can teach it every single day to kids. It is 100% possible to do this.
Yeah.
And if you have any inclination at all to start, I would just ask that you do. Grab a couple kids in your gym and get started. If you're in a garage with your family, have them come in and just imitate you, and while you're doing something, they do it too. They don't need to count. They can just do some squats with you and then move over to the next thing. Whatever it is, just have it get started, because my why is serving by giving CrossFit to kids, passing on the gift. That's really my why in my profession.
Yeah.
And I I'm fired up about it because I think that we can change the world.
I mean, we definitely can. I mean, that's the reason I have 4 kids instead of 1. I was like, I think the best thing I can do for this world is make better kids. So now my impact can be great. But you can do that with coaching kids.
You can do that with coaching kids. And you can do that with coaching kids and coaching their parents.
Yeah.
I mean, how crazy is that? Like, how many families have been influenced at CrossFit affiliates?
Yeah.
They're talking about it at dinner.
Yeah.
How many burpees did you do today?
Yeah.
7?
So legit. So legit. Well, hell yeah. Well, thank you, Nick. And where can we find you if we wanted to contact you, or if people wanted to?
Yeah, I mean, if anyone has any questions about starting CrossFit inside of schools, they can reach out to my CrossFit email, nick@crossfit.com. That's
you
not
got
true.
Nick at CrossFit.com?
Nick.Pappas.
Nick.Pappas at CrossFit. I was like,
dude, that's way above my pay grade.
Yeah, I was like, dang, bro.
Cool. I'm not that
Nick.Pappas.
Nick.Pappas at CrossFit.com.
That's not at CrossFit Training. That was good, dude. You still got it at CrossFit. That's legit.
And it's I think they changed it back, so I'm really not that cool. But
it's cool.
That's for if anyone is interested in starting it in a school or in a nonprofit. I'm happy to talk them through that so they can learn about how the affiliate fee is waived as they are a nonprofit.
Yeah, if you didn't know this, the schools get their affiliate fee waived to be nonprofit affiliates.
Yeah. And if anyone is interested in terms of like coaching kids, right? Like as the manager of the kids course, if you got any questions about that, reach out to me. And yeah, I guess I have a social media handle, but you're not going to see much on it. So
you don't need to follow the social media, but go to those other places. You'll be good to go. Unless you start posting a bunch on social media.
Yeah, we'll see.
All the cool kids content, we'll get it your way. Well, thank you, man.
Or if you ever have any questions, you can just reach out.
Yeah.
Like, too many people have helped me get me started. So if anyone just is curious about coaching kids, let me know.
Yeah, there's not a better person to respond to you. Nick is very good at distilling this information in a way that we can understand it and pass it forward. So I 10 out of 10 recommend reaching out to Nick and if you have any inclination towards it, make it happen.
I am a middle school PE teacher and do the strength conditioning for 5 sports at the high school. So you may need to give me a couple days if you email me, but bug me and follow up with me if I don't get back to you within 2 or 3 days.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you, Nick. High five.
Thanks for checking out this episode of the Best Hour of Their Day podcast. We appreciate you listening and choosing to have us help you in your passion for coaching and affiliate ownership. You can find more episodes just like this on all podcast platforms. If you're interested in learning more, you can reach out to us on any social media platforms, or you can visit www.besthouroftheirday.com to book a call. If you found this episode helpful for you, please share it so that we can help other coaches and affiliate owners to help build a bigger and stronger CrossFit community. Thanks for listening.